Hello, Nadia Eide. Thank you so much for joining me on the Mary-Jess Meets podcast. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this podcast because I really admired your ambition and enthusiasm for music when we first met in person in the Pancake Place in Hammersmith, which was my favourite restaurant there.
Absolutely, yeah. Hi. It's all so much. You're so nice.
Well, I'd really like to talk about, first of all, something that I've seen quite a lot of on your social media channels. You've been talking about all the music that you've been recording for charity. I really want to ask you about that because I know it must be very important to you.
Absolutely. Well, great place to start. I think music, first of all, has always been a very kind of emotional thing for me to do. And I think as artists, you're drawn to those kind of things anyway. And when it came to releasing music, I was always, it's a bit scary putting music out for the first time and being out in kind of the open. And it's one thing to do concerts and things, but I had it on my mind for a while. And it turns out that one of my brothers ended up becoming very, very ill last year. And so it first of all, he struggled with medical bills. He ended up having he has still a severe form of lupus, which is a kind of a rare autoimmune disease. And it's affected his entire body, taken over his entire life. He was a musician for a long time. So his dream was kind of to release music and to put his music out in the world. He was spending maybe a good 10 years on his music, writing stuff and, just pursuing his dreams. And he got so ill that he just had to give it up, and for me as his sister, I'm not only his sister, I'm his twin sister. So I always feel like there is a special connection with the two of us. I wanted to do my part because at the time I just had my son, so he's quite young, and my husband, who's also a singer, was off working. So I had a lot of time just sat at home thinking, what can I do to really make a difference and to do my part in helping him raise funds. So I started this idea of releasing music and putting music out there and raising funds for an album in the future that I could sell online and on various streaming platforms, and eventually to sell at my concerts, and that every penny that from those sales would go towards helping him, build his life back up. He still has to go through extensive treatment. Luckily, we've got such a supportive family, so we've all kind of chipped in and done our part. So this was my way of helping. And also because he is a musician, I think music just is very emotive and kind of helped the cause. And kind of he was very touched, and it was such a great thing to be able to do something like that for him. And it's something I definitely feel so passionate about because there's a lot of emotion now, even just listening to, there was one song in particular I released at the start, which was Fall on Me. It's a cover by Andrea Bocelli's song from the Nutcracker. And so far I just heard the music and read the lyrics, and I thought, this is perfect. It just works. It's very emotive, and yeah. And so even just listening to it now, I get a bit emotional listening to that song. And it did so well. We went straight to #1 in the classical charts, and I've never ever released anything before. So for me, it was incredibly exciting as like an independent artist as well. I don't have a record label. Everything I do is myself. It's my own ideas. So for me to be able to have that opportunity to get enough people, I mean, that just proves that it touches a lot of people, and a lot of people want to help, and a lot of people, support artists in that way, and in other ways they support my brother, and yeah. So, and I love doing this. I could talk about it forever. Just charity work I would love to do more of. I would love, because I feel like, being a singer, especially with 2020, made me really realize, like, oh, is what I do so important? Like, you know, there are people working in the NHS, and, you know, we've got doctors and nurses saving lives all over the place. And, you know, there's a huge pandemic, like, do people even want or need singers? And it made me realize that actually, yes, they do. People need music. And I think if you look back on history and you look, you know, through the world wars and everything like that, it was theater, it was music, it was radio that kept people going, you know, kept their spirits up, and people need that escapism. So in those kind of ways, I do feel like music is so important, and it is so important what we do. And we might not always feel like we're making a difference, but hopefully we are, through the music and through inspiring people. So that's kind of, I mean, I could ramble on forever, but there, I hope that's your question.
I'd really like to dive back into a few things that you said there, because I think you touched on some very, very important points. But starting more towards the beginning, you said that your brother not only having to deal with this, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how that must make you feel to be diagnosed with something like this, but you then said to have health bills as well. Is he not based in the UK where there's the NHS? Is he somewhere else?
He was initially, and for the longest time, you know, it's due to, you know, them not knowing enough about this disease. And it's not just lupus, because lupus you can live with, but it's the complications that arise from it. So basically it's where your immune system attacks itself. So it can cause any number of complications with your organs, and with, it's affected his bones. Like, it's so complicated that I don't even understand the list of troubles he's gone through. It's been, you know, 10 years. It started with an accident he had where he injured himself, and developed an infection. And from, because he was a perfectly normal, very healthy, very, you know, very active person, and went from that to being, you know, just completely debilitated. And hopefully now, you know, it's something you can live with, but it's never going to be a full life. You know, so that's what's hard as well. I mean, can you imagine being so ill and having to deal with bills? I mean, a lot of it, when he was in the UK, a lot of it was covered by the NHS. But when you're dealing with extensive treatments and things, then it comes to a point where you need to find other ways of, it's also living costs mainly. So it was just gathering things like, you know, him having enough money for his rent, or to buy the specific diet he needed, which was very expensive. So it was more that as well. But yeah, now he's safe with my family, so he's doing much better. Thank God.
Gosh, yeah. The amount of stress that must put on a person to not be able to earn any money, to lose their dream that he wanted to achieve, that he'd been working on so hard for 10 years, to have to let go of all of that and cope with all the health implications of this disease, and have the bills from the healthcare. Like, the amount of stress, I can't imagine how detrimental that could be to a person's health, let alone this disease that he has to cope with as well. So to have you around him as a family that can support him, and that you want to make music for him, he must have been so touched.
He's such a selfless person, and very humble as well. So you know, for him it was more him feeling like a burden to people, and that it just broke our hearts. You know, we were just thinking, this guy he's just got a heart of gold. He really has. I think the world of him. He's really fantastic, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if, you know, he weren't such a great person, you know. And, you know, he's not just my brother. I really respect him. So, and the fact that he just thought that, you know, and there was a point where we didn't think he'd make it. So, you know, to be here today, and that he's survived, and, you know, he's hopefully getting better is all positive. So, and that's thanks to people and their support as well. You know, you've made a huge difference. It might not seem like a lot to people, you know, just going and downloading a song or something, but it really does make a difference to what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve, and to my brother as well. So yeah.
It's not only the financial help of things like that, where people are spending their hard-earned cash on your art to support your brother. It's the fact that you know that they're there for you, and that's something that we've had to all experience remotely with everything that's going on. But when they are actively taking the time to spend their hard-earned cash to support you and your family, it's just so wonderful how people have come together to support you with this, with your brother. It's brilliant. And getting in the charts, you know, #1 is that's completely incredible.
I think you're so right, and that's why I always take the time to respond to, you know, fans or things like that on social media. I do, because I do think, you know, we do it for them. We're not here. I'm not a narcissistic person. I do my music because I want to create good music that people love listening to. So, you know, obviously I do it because I love singing and I love sharing that. But ultimately it's for the audience. So you want them to love what you're doing and you want them to respond. So I love part of it. I think, you know, when people do, last year, 2020's been a year where you're right, it's really come forward and you see, you know, truly the people who are supporting you, and the few, you know, the fans, and there might only be 10 of them sometimes, but those people are loyal, and it's really fantastic and it makes it worthwhile. I don't need tens of thousands of followers to know that what I'm doing is making a difference to their lives, and that means a lot to me. So I think you're very right with that. Definitely.
I do the same. I always try and reach out to as many people as I can. Like when anybody comments or they shares or they send me a message, I try my best to reply to everyone, because I just want them to know how grateful I am for their support. Because both you and I, as you said, we're independent artists. So we don't have the big record label backing. We don't have that that big amount of expertise that they've got, as well as their big bank accounts for things. So when people do want to support you in some way, even if it might be buying your music, it might just be sharing your music with people that they know if they can't support you financially, but they still want to support you in some way. And it's just so good to let people know how grateful you are for that, because I've said to people a few times now, to my fan base, you are my record label, and it would be impossible for me to do this without you. So you're the only reason why I can carry on doing this, and for that I am so grateful. But it adds another level when they are giving their money to you for this amazing charity single that you've put out to support your brother.
It makes me so emotional. Like I was so overwhelmed. Like people who I hadn't heard from in years, you know, sharing it and telling people to download it. I was blown away, you know. And you know, it's so lovely when I get touched anyway when you see humanity come together for a good cause. So, you know, to be a small cog in that machine is yeah, it's very heartwarming for me. And it's what I love doing with music.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I want to touch on something else that you said when you talk about how you make your music for the listener. And I was actually having this conversation with somebody recently where we were talking about the songs that we like to sing. And she said to me, sometimes I have to sing songs that I don't want to sing because people have requested them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that quite a lot of the time singers have to do that. And I said, she was asking me how I put the same amount of passion and care into a song that I don't really want to sing compared to songs that I really, really, really want to sing. And I said to her, well, I put that same amount of passion and care in because it's not about me. So if somebody is asked to hear a song that they really love, you're giving them the gift of music by singing it for them. And I think that's why I love it so much, no matter what I'm singing.
I agree. I think that's definitely something that took me a few years to learn, because I think when you study music and you've seen what people have done before you, you very much want to stand out and you want to do things differently. You want to create something that's, you know, you find interesting as an artist. And I think, you know, something complicated, or, you know, I've been there. I've tried everything got to do with, you know, crossing classical into rock, into everything. And a lot of it has been, you know, for that purpose of just trying to stand out and trying something completely different from everybody else. And, you know, it took me a while actually to learn, you know, who's it actually for, you know, and so now when I put shows together, it's very much, you know, if it's 12 songs, you know, 11 songs will be directly what I know people want to hear and people love. And I always put my own spin on things. So that's kind of more my take is I'll pick songs that I know people will love. And I throw maybe one in for myself. And I'll do it that way instead. And I'll maybe pick something I'll always explain. And perhaps that becomes a new favorite of theirs, you know. So yeah, it's definitely that. But it took me a while to learn that. I mean, because it was always for the audience completely, but it took a while for me to kind of learn that what people actually want to hear. And I think that takes a few years of being, you know, a professional and touring and being out there and meeting people and you know, that's why I love meeting audiences after the show, because I can really hear and gauge what it is they like. And you can tell when you know, you do concert yourself, and you can tell when you sing a song that they, you know, they give a little bit extra applause for, and those kind of things, they make a difference, you know. And yeah, I do think people really appreciate it when you do sing something you might feel you've sung a million times, because usually it is like that if it's a standard or something. But if it's what they want to hear, it's what they want to hear, and then it's your job as an artist to make it your own and make it different, with the way you sing it or the arrangement or something instead, to make it for you as well. But yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know more about how you interpret what your take on things is. What's your spin that you put on things? Like, what's that little bit of Nadia that you stick onto your songs when you interpret them? How would you describe that?
Goodness. Well, I love a bit of drama, so I tend to build songs in a certain way, I think. I love orchestrations of, you know, if I'm picking a pop song, I like to make things different. So if it is a pop song, I like to make it completely classical and rearrange it so it sounds like a classical song. You know, I do opera I sing a lot of opera, and you know, in those terms, you know, it's harder to break the rules, but I like breaking the rules anyway. You know, I come from that kind of background. I do a lot of operas and I do a lot of still. So I still have that connection, a musical theatre as well. So I still have the connection to the opera and the theatre world. So I never let myself stray too far. But with classical crossover, I think there's such a scope with mixing all the genres together. But you know, I don't know. Like I just hear it. You know, when you hear a piece of music and you're like, okay, I want to do this with it, and this is beautiful. You find what's beautiful within the song, and then you build on that. You know, I have a few arrangers that I work with who kind of know my style by now. And yeah, it's all about creating an atmosphere, I think. But also I like singing high notes because I'm a high soprano. So I like, if I can, yes, if I can get it, squeeze a few. But then, you know, that also took me a while to realize not everyone wants to hear me sing up in the rafters all the time. You know, you have to bring it down. So a lot of it was working on, you know, yeah.
I want to hear that. I want to hear the rafters.
But now I use them as like, you know, surprise or a firework, or, you know, you can't just be up there all the time. Otherwise you lose the you know, the wow factor. So it definitely, I'll throw them in when I can. But, you know, yeah, a lot of songs I've rearranged so they are a bit higher and a little bit more interesting for me to sing vocally. But yeah, it varies. But orchestral, I like drama, so I always try to get that in.
Oh gosh, you're speaking to all the right notes in me right now with the with the drama and the orchestral stuff. And honestly, I say to people, the high notes are the fun notes. I just blinking love them. But yours are so crystalline. It's like a bell up there. It's amazing.
But I say that, and I don't mean it to sound really, you know, self-absorbed, but that's the easy fun stuff. You know, because that's where my strength lies, you know. And it actually, people go, wow, you know, you sang that, oh my God, is this a top D or top E or F or whatever? And I say, yeah, you know, I take some concentration, but it's not the hard stuff. The hard stuff is, you know, coming up with tone and richness down in your lower register. And people don't actually think of it that way. They, you know, they think, you know, for top soprano, yeah, that is a challenge actually, is being able to interpret things in your lower register and having the richness of sound and bringing that higher up, because I don't just want it to be like, you know, I do like, I'm all about tone with especially with sopranos, is to have a nice warm rich tone and a smooth sound, and not just to be screechy. So, you know, there's a time and a place for everything, and very many different styles of soprano. But for me, that's massive. So when people say that, oh, it's a high note, you know, and I think, yeah, I love it. I love it. So thank you for, you know, agreeing with that. But yeah.
I'm sure people will be interested now that you've sort of said a few different notes there. What is your range that you've got?
Oh gosh. I used to have a good G6 in me. When I was really, I did a tour once when I sang that every night, like a top G, and that was very, very high. I think I actually could sing higher when I was in training. When I was 19, 20, I could sing an A above that, so like an A7. I mean, now I think about it, I'm like, how did I even get there? But they would check their voices, you know, every day. I do think from, you know, now I'm in my early 30s, and having had a child, I don't know if that's affected me at all, but you know, I don't think I could ever sing that high again. But I do regularly sing things that are an F. You know, I've done Queen of the Night several times, so that's in my voice completely. But you know, like my teacher said when I was at drama school and music school, was like, it's great, Nadia, you have these notes, that's incredible, but you'll never use them. And I just thought, oh, that's such a shame. You know, but it's true, you know. And there aren't any songs that are written that high, apart from like The Tempest. Ariel in The Tempest is an opera. It's very modern and it's like way up there, and I sang some of that once, but it's not pretty to listen to. You know, there's no real need to sing that high. So I mean, it's impressive to another singer or someone, but I mean, a D, sometimes when I sing a D, it sits very comfortably in my voice and people think that's very high, or a C, you know. But that's just a nice place in my voice, you know, it feels comfortable, but it's a nice high note, you know. But I can go much higher. Obviously, I do Fs regularly, and yeah, I mean, people do, yeah, it's impressive. And I'm happy they're still there. Because my singing teacher, when I think I was 16 or so, she said, oh, great that you can sing this, but I used to be a soprano and I got asked to sing Christine when I was 18, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And now she's a mezzo, and that terrified me, because she says when you go through some kind of second puberty with your voice, females do, when they're around 17 or 18, and you might lose a lot of this upper register. I was, you know, terrified. So I just kept singing up there. It never went. So thank God. So maybe maybe my voice just meant to stay there.
Yeah, yeah, I'd never heard of this second. No, because that didn't happen to me either. I've always been able to sing my notes.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear what you say about how your voice has changed, because I've found that with my higher register, as I've got older and as my voice is maturing, I've got far more body and stability up there. And I've enjoyed exploring that part of my register more as my voice has matured. So it's interesting to hear about how your voice has changed. I mean, to hear you singing G's every night, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool.
But I agree, your voice it becomes stronger as well, and it feels richer, and it feels like the tone and the notes, you know, they're more solid. I mean, I've always been able to hit them, and I don't think it's changed so vastly, but I do feel like the rest of my voice, maybe the lower tones, has become richer. So there's more, I've never had a problem with the kind of transition, the smooth, with the breaks in my voice. I never really had stuff like that to worry about, but certainly the tone and the richness with the transition from the lower register to the higher is definitely, as you age, becomes more interesting. So you can see now why opera singers their careers don't really take off until they're in their 30s, because you can see now why, yeah, that's the case, because I feel my voice is a lot stronger now, probably because I do spend a lot more time. I mean, I used to sing 2 hours every day when I was younger, and now I think about it, it's crazy. I sing every other day to keep my voice in good nick. If I'm doing shows and stuff, then obviously I'll sing every day. But then I need to look after my voice, like when you're in a show, and you're, especially with opera, because it's very, very heavy, and yeah, especially when you're not mic'd. I find that's a huge, because now we're so used to being mic'd, and when I do concerts, it's all mic'd. And when I step on stage and do an opera, suddenly it's a completely different way of singing and projecting. So you really got to look after your body as well as your voice, because I think they really go hand in hand.
They completely do. I'm nodding furiously as you're talking about non-mic'd concerts. Like, yes, you really got to look after your voice then. You definitely do. Because you can really treat the microphone as your friend when you have a microphone. It really helps you out. But it's interesting as well. You said just a little while ago about your voice potentially changing since you've had your son. So I'm interested to hear about how you think it's changed.
Well, they usually say that when a woman is pregnant, her voice will drop a few notes, and that's very common. I do feel like it's become richer, but that might just be because I'm a year older. But throughout my pregnancy as well, I was singing a lot because I was just terrified I would lose anything, or I just had a lot of time on my hands suddenly because I wasn't traveling all over the world. I stopped when I was just in my third trimester. So I was traveling. I was down in Australia when I was 6 months pregnant, and dealing with jet lag when you're pregnant is horrific. And having to fly that far as well, I was like in tears almost, because it's so uncomfortable, but it was so worth it to travel and to keep performing as long as I could. And then obviously I took 3 months off where I was just in the UK and recording an album, because I can't sit still for 2 seconds. So like, what can I do now? So still singing throughout and keeping myself busy and going to auditions and things, and doing what I could. I think, so I sang a lot more, actually, ironically, when I was pregnant and after having him, because
So hang on a second, let's get this straight. You just had a newborn baby. You gave yourself 3 months off, but in that 3 months you were still going to auditions and recording an album with a newborn.
No, that was when my last 3 months of being pregnant.
Okay, I was going to say, goodness me, I'm going to get confused. Sorry.
No, that's worse. So it's a lot worse. So the last 3 months I was just in the UK, because obviously right. I can't fly anywhere because it's not allowed. But I was doing concerts where I could in the UK. And then I decided I was going to record an album, because why not? So I was 9 months pregnant. I was 2 weeks away of giving birth, and I recorded my debut album, the premiere album I've been selling at concerts and things, because I was like, I want a souvenir album that I can sell at my concerts. 3 weeks after my son was born, I was doing a concert. So I didn't have a long to recover. And then 6 weeks after he was born, I had to go off on a cruise, and I did a 10-day cruise where I was doing concerts. So that was really hard because anyone who has a child will realize how attached you become, and you feel this need to protect them. And so leaving him, he was with his father, and thank God I have the most supportive, amazing husband who is, we've always treated our or any children we have to, you know, be 50-50. And because we're both singers, we both have to work and we both want to support each other. And he always said, you know, you go off and do your thing. And I, you know, thank God for him. So he took he took full full charge of the baby, 6 weeks old, for 10 days on his own, which is absolutely incredible. But they, you know, luckily our son was very easy to deal with, and he was sleeping well and eating well, so we never had any problems. So yeah, it, you know, but I think I needed that. I couldn't just sit still, and I can't, you know, that would kill me if I just had to stay home. And I do really believe also as well that, you know, going out and fighting for your dreams and not giving up, and you know, it's, I thought, you know, I'm setting an example for my son in the future, but actually I didn't realize I was setting an example for loads of my friends who have thought about having children but weren't going to, or were afraid because they don't want to give up their careers, or, you know, performer friends of mine who have children already, who are afraid of accepting work. And, you know, it's a really hard thing to do and a really individual choice. But, you know, the amount of messages I got, and you know, really kind of, you know, it's heartwarming again to see that, yeah, it's really, really tough. It's really tough, but it's so worth it. And if you really love what you do, you can't give it up. So I was very set in my ways. I would never just set aside my dreams and my life. You know, I just make everything work instead. And obviously I spend a lot of time otherwise with my son. But the few times I need to go away and sing, you know, I have to do that, you know, for me as well as for my family, you know. So I always wanted to support the family as well. I'm no kind of conventional stay-at-home kind of mom. So that's just me.
See, this perfectly demonstrates what I was saying earlier about just the ambition that I could see in you the first time that we actually met each other, and just how determined you are. And it really is showing through in this story of your life, you know, how you're really setting an example for people who do want to still carry on with their careers and have a family. Because a lot of people feel like you do have to choose, but it looks like you're a living example of somebody who goes, no, hang on, I've got to support my family by being me, who I am, and not forgetting my own personal identity. So it's a great example that you are set in there, and it does go to show definitely how much you love what you do. That passion is shining through completely.
Yeah, I remember when I met you, I was pregnant, wasn't I? It was like 7 or 8 months. Goodness. Uh, and yeah, no, I agree. I think that, you know, there were a lot of stories that were in the stage recently of actresses, even in the musical theatre industry, who felt the lack of support. And, you know, with just being able to work in the West End, you know, there's not a lot of support for women who are in the industry. And, you know, in terms of maternity leave, in terms of, they started with sharing shows. So there was that famous, I think she was a swing in a chorus line or something, and she had just come back from maternity leave and asked if she could share her role with another person. So they did 3 days each, instead of her being away most of the week, you know, every evening off at work, you know, and things like this. They worked, and it happened, and you just got to fight for it. And I do think when you have a passion in your life, and no matter what it is, you know, you should continue doing that. If you can't, well, they famously say, if you can go a day without thinking about something, you know, it's not worth it. But if you can't go a day without thinking about something, then you need to pursue it. And I really think that, you know, especially for women, for their mental health after having children, I think was the biggest, you know, biggest hurdle for me to get over. Was, you know, you do lose your identity a little bit for a few days or a few weeks even, and you feel like, goodness, how am I going to do this? And for me, ultimately, it was like, it's my drive, it's my passion, and I need to do this. And, you know, we can do both, you know, but it's not for everyone. You need to be I mean, it's exhausting as well. Like now my son's a year and a half, and so he's a toddler running around, so, I don't get as much time for myself, but I make it count. And I really do some kind of music for myself every day. That's kind of my rule.
Yeah. And what are the things that you tend to sort of spiral around day to day? So I'm guessing sometimes you're practicing your singing, maybe every other day, like you said before, but maybe on the days when you're not practicing your singing, what are the other things that you do so that you've got that musical injection into your day?
Well, yeah, so a lot of it is listening to music. So anytime I'm traveling anywhere, like I'm always there, like on my phone, going through the latest, releases or things, thinking about songs I can cover. But a lot of it also comes from just, living as well. This comes back to my acting training. They used to say, like, you're not a good actor by just sitting around reading monologues. You have to go out and live, you know. You need to experience life to be able to portray it, so I do feel like a lot of the times you could just be driving in the car and something great will come on the radio that you never even thought, or just going by your daily life. A lot of what I do to keep kind of sharp is take good care of myself. I'm a stickler for that, exercising every day. I get out, and I have dogs. So I've got 2 dogs, so I always walk them every morning. And usually listen to music or something then. But get out in the fresh air. I exercise every day. Make sure I eat really well. These kind of things, taking care of yourself has a huge impact on your voice as well. So especially when I'm traveling, if you're flying around, it's even more important. Drinking lots of water. It's not just about, because I used to think if I practice 2 hours every day, I'll be where I want to be in the future. But sometimes it's just about pacing yourself and giving yourself the time to rest as well, which took me a long time to learn because I'm such a doer, so. But yeah, those kind of moments do really matter, and the inspiration is so important, because if you lose that, then you've got nothing. You need to keep that going. And but many times you're tired or things, and a lot of my time I spend taking care of my son every day, and renovating our house, because my husband's really into renovations, and so we're doing that as well, and that's kind of a really extreme hobby to be doing, but it's kept us going during the lockdowns that have happened in the UK, so that's been nice.
Yeah. Well, my mum always said that you've got to look after yourself before you're able to look after anybody else. And so by you looking after yourself and your voice, you're then able to look after your family. You're then able to give more online to people. You're able to create more music because you've got the energy to do that. And you're able to show that resilience more that you were talking about earlier. Like you were saying about how people are being very resilient and having to change lots of their habits that they previously had. I want to tell you how impressed I was with a lot of the performances that you put together for some of the online concerts. They were just so gorgeous, so polished, so well produced. And that's a whole other skill that you've got to learn that maybe you hadn't looked at before because you're a performing artist. So could you tell me more about how you go about creating those performances for online concerts?
Well, so that was, like you say, it's new. Over the years, I've become very into being very technical with when it comes to music. So we have our own studio here set up. So the first thing we did was invest in like proper recording gear and stuff. And I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to that. So both my husband and I, we'd sit for hours and just learn how to record and mix and things like that. So because my dad's a recording and sound engineer.
That's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, he lives in Norway, so but I've grown up with somebody who's incredibly picky about sound, and sung on his stage a few times when I was younger. So I've grown up with this kind of this critical ear. So I wanted to learn for myself firsthand, and also because we spend thousands of pounds going into the studio to record things, so why not learn it for yourself. So we had all that set up, and when it came to the lockdown, I was watching what other people were doing, and it was a lot of it was which is fantastic, because I think it's so great to be creative no matter what you do. But a lot of the concerts I was seeing was just people with a simple mic and a little simple speaker and playing backing tracks and singing. And I was like, how can I make something even more polished and produced, but also do duets and things, so make it interesting for, and sing with people I haven't met. I messaged a lot of people I'd never met before and never performed with before, and they were all up for it, which was so nice. They kind of just see what I've been up to in the past and agreed. And I'm lucky because I travel around and I meet so many fantastic artists who are just mind-blowing. Some incredible concert pianists and violinists, and so I thought, this is crazy, and we need to get these people working in lockdown, and not to just sit around and not do anything. Get creative, because I saw so many of my friends on Facebook and talented people who just lost their inspiration. So a lot of it was trying to find ways to get them involved, and so yeah, I don't know, I came up with this idea to record, and it was a lot to do all at once, to sing and have them, it was a lot of technical work. You can hear my son in the background. So yeah, it kept me busy. It took me about a month per concert. Just choose all the songs, get the artists, put the songs together, rehearse with them, and do the concert in the end. So every time I did it, it was like a huge release. And I thought, when I did one, I thought I got to do one more, because it went so well and the response was so incredible. And then, I did one more, and it was exhausting. I mean, it was a lot of work, but it kept me really, really busy through those, through the first lockdown we had in the UK. So I was very grateful for that, and to be creative was really fun. And, now I have that as a memory of the time, so that's nice.
Not only as a memory, but all those new skills that you can add to your skill set, really. Now that you know how to record from home, you can get somebody come in and say, can you record this remotely for me? And you can go, yes, brilliant. So you've opened up a whole door of opportunity there.
Yeah, because it was that the first one was way before anyone started doing like Zoom, can hear him, Zoom, interviews or concerts or anything like that. Like, now it's become such a norm, because people have to learn these skills, not just us. My sister and brother-in-law are lawyers, and now they spend all their time working from home using Zoom or things to chat, or even go to court or anything like that. So I think the whole world has had to learn these new skills and learn to put things together in this way. So yeah, I mean, in terms of music and recording and stuff like that, that has just made my skills even better than what they were. And just going from concert 1 to concert 2, you can see that quality is like jumped up, a level, because I added some new things. I got better lights, and things. But overall, it's just about producing good sound and good quality music, and good kind of quality performers as well to feature. And yeah, so that was just really nice. It was to, work with people who I really admire and I think are really talented. So that was really fun.
Yeah, so you've opened up doors for other people as well, not only for yourself by learning how to record, but getting them out to maybe an audience that they hadn't been exposed to before. And that's such a gift that you can give to people as well. Like with these, I love doing these podcasts, because I get some fans come to me and go, oh, I've never heard of this person before, and I was introduced to their music through the podcast. And it just gives such joy to people when they discover something new. And so to be able to share those concerts with your fan base, and then everybody else sharing them as well, it just helps new audiences find people. And that's just so important right now, when we can't go out and perform gigs right now. The best way for people to discover us is by doing collaborations and having different audiences discover us through different artists. And I just find it's such a gift, and it's so much fun. I know that like in some industries some people are so afraid of doing collaborations because they feel like it's going to be some kind of competition, but I've never felt like that. I always feel like a collaboration is a way of building everybody up and creating something that could be even more amazing than when you do it by yourself.
For sure. I think that speaks volumes, but I've seen what you've done as well in the past with songs you've released and the collaborations you've done. It's so true. And so I can see that in what you've done. And I agree with you completely. I think it should only you should complement each other. And that's exactly why I picked so many different styles as well. They're all not classical, I sang with my sister as well, who's a pop rock singer, and I love that. It's just the challenge of doing all these different styles with different instrumentalists or singers, or all the and one guy was like, he sings in Vegas, this incredible singer, and I met him doing concerts on a ship, and like people I'd never sing with, ever, but we came up with some incredible musical little gems that I look back now and I think, oh, it was really clever, and it is about just tapping into the different fan bases, and and people will hear about someone, and that was my way of going. Also my concerts, I said, follow these people, make sure you buy their albums, follow them on social media, follow their YouTube page. Like these are things we can easily do, and it's free. Most of it's free, to go onto someone's YouTube and just click subscribe. It's so easy and so quick, but it makes such a huge difference to artists. So I did say that I'm just, I'm like, no one's being paid. I'm not taking any money from this. This is solely to feature incredible talent and to get more people watching what they do. And I it's so heartwarming to see that then they had followed, people who follow, fans who follow me had followed them as well. And that was really nice, because that's the whole point of it all, is to just spread the love, and get people enjoying more music.
Absolutely. And to give talented people a stage when all of our physical stages have been taken away. Like, where do you think all those influences will lead you? What do you think you've got planned for this 2021 that we hope will be a lot easier to deal with than what we've had to deal with before? Where do you think you're going to go with this year?
I definitely want to release more music, so that's on the cards already. Finally releasing the second album I've been working on. So far I've been releasing singles from it. And I will continue to do that throughout 2021, and hopefully I'd like to perhaps do a tour of the UK. That's kind of something I really love to do, is do more stuff in the UK, but also continue international touring as soon as I can. But yeah, it would be really cool to do something musically. I've got a lot of projects, some secret projects that will be revealed soon. So hopefully that will take me in a new direction as well. I just want to sing again. I just want to get back to it.
I am very intrigued by all of that, very intrigued. And I do want to wish you all the best with your brother as well, all the charity work that you're doing there. I so admire you, and I think you're very strong, having to deal with something that's so difficult. So I wish your brother all the best, and I can't wait to see what you do this year, and I cannot wait to hear the new music that you've got planned. I just love your voice.
Hey, thank you. Same to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on this podcast. Such an honor.
Well, thanks so much, and keep us updated when you've got new releases and everything. We'll have to get you back on so you can chat to us about it when you're able to talk about your secret things.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So now we're able to fast forward into the future, because just as this podcast was about to go live, we had the amazing news of your incredible success on The Voice. So, of course, I just had to talk to you about this so that people could see it, because this is just such amazing and great news for you. So thank you so much for coming back and enabling us to fast forward into the future, because we recorded the first bit while I was in quarantine in Taiwan back in December. And now look at everything that you're achieving. So thank you so much for coming back on.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
How can I not? This is just so amazing. First of all, massive congratulations. You're on Team Will.
Yeah, my goodness. It still hasn't sunk in yet, I swear. Yeah, it's a dream come true, honestly.
I really loved what he did before when he created Hip Hopera. I so want you to sing Hip Hopera with Will.
Yeah, I would love to get that far. Yeah, that would be like a dream come true, honestly. I think he's so cool, and honestly he's the reason I even applied for the show, because I just thought, I think his mind works in such a genius way. He's so creative and he's so forward thinking, and he doesn't put singers in a box. So I was always drawn to him, and so I was just going there, crossing everything I had to get on his team. But and it turns out I got the last spot, which is absolutely crazy.
That's amazing. And I loved his excitement in the chair when you started singing.
Yeah. Obviously, I can't see any of that. So when I was singing, I was just so nervous, because bearing in mind, I lost the whole year like everyone else, all our work for the entire year last year. And I just thought, I need to keep singing. I need to keep doing stuff. And I thought, now's the time to apply, because I always wanted to do The Voice, because I think it's the best show for singers. The competition is so tough, and especially I think this year, because I think a lot of people had the same idea as me. Now they have this influx of incredible singers who normally probably are too busy to apply for the show, but always have wanted to. So just being part of it now is absolutely crazy. So yeah, I'm just really excited about the next step.
And the next step is the battles, isn't it? Can you tell us anything about that?
Gosh, it's been really crazy, because obviously I've been watching all the auditions happen now before mine was aired, and so I hadn't had the chance to, I've met the other singers in the team, obviously, at this point, and I've seen all their auditions, and they're all so incredible. And it's scary because I think all the teams are incredible, but I think Team Will is exceptional. Like, there are so many artists. There's some people who just sing and some people who are artists, and I think his team is just full of those kind of people who are just genuine artists, who are so good at what they do, who've been plugging away for years. So the competition is very high, I have to say, at the moment.
Well, we know how he feels about classical singers, so it really did sound like the stars aligned for you, as you said in your social media posts, because you were the last slot, and we know how much he loves classical music. Can you tell us how it felt when he turned around?
So, I mean, obviously, like I said, I was incredibly nervous. I came there, I brought my husband along for support, and I got on that stage, and honestly, I was so nervous, like so nervous. I'm used to auditioning, but this, because I'd had almost a year off of being in front of an audience. It was scary enough to get back on stage, but then you don't have the audience to sing to. So normally, as a singer, you'd at least be able to look out and see the audience, and kind of take in whether or not, gauge whether they're enjoying what you're doing, or anything. But doing an audition like that, all I could see were the virtual audience. So this year, because of COVID last year and things, we have a virtual audience, and there are people sat at home live watching the auditions. And I don't know if that probably just made me more nervous, because I couldn't see, like, they weren't close enough for me to see, and obviously the coaches had their backs turned to me, so I had no idea what was going on. And it's so wonderful to actually be able to watch the audition back and see Will's funny reaction and all of their reactions, really, because I just didn't see any of that. So I, was getting to the end of the song thinking, okay, well, I'm going to have to turn around. Where did they tell me to go? Was it right or left? And I have to go back, because, you have to turn around and go back off stage. And, I was just all this was going through my head because I was getting the song, So And then all I saw was my husband just jump to do, you know, this like football leap, like someone's scored a goal. And then I kind of was like, whoa, it kind of, you're somewhere else when you're auditioning. And when you've got nerves like that, you know, it's, you just focus on getting through the song. So I just told myself, you know, just get through the song and do your best. And I had no idea I was going to be the last one on his team either, you know, so that's why I say the stars aligned, because he honestly just had one spot left. And at that point, the coaches, they're just so picky, you know, they just listen, and you know, they're waiting for something special. So yeah, the pressure was really, really on. And I think, yeah, it's you know, those kind of moments, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it, because I'm like reliving the moment. And yeah, when he turned around, I was just so like relieved is the word. I was so relieved, because I put a lot of work in that audition, and you know, preparation and everything like that goes on behind the scenes before you even get to that point. So it was like a huge relief of, you know, all the preparation and everything that had happened throughout the summer. And yeah, I was just super thrilled.
Well, you came along and you delivered that special moment, because your performance was outstanding for someone with that much nerves, like holding it together to that. It just shows how professional you are, because that performance was incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Have you always sung that song?
I have sung it before. I sang it as part of my duo with my husband as well. But I have sung it on my own, and but it's the first time, like, oh well, obviously I've never sung it on TV in that kind of context. Usually just in concert, but it had been a long time since I'd sung it. So I thought, you know, I want to do something epic, you know.
Well, it suits your voice so perfectly. Were you able to choose that quite freely, or did they restrict the ideas of what they wanted you to sing?
You know, I always thought that on these shows they were very picky about people's material and things, which is probably why I put it off for so many years. But I have to say, the voice, they're absolutely incredible. The music team are top notch. They are world-class musicians you're working with. So, I mean, that's been the most exciting part from me as a massive music geek, to be able to work with David Tench, who is the MD and arranger for the show. His mind is just incredible, and I tell him, this is what I want, do this and this and this and this in the style of this, and he just does it, and I'm just like blown away. And then you've got these world-class musicians on stage who just literally play anything. I mean, they played every style imaginable, from rap to soul to country to opera, like literally play anything. So I can only, you know, applaud them for, you know, being able to back and, you know, come up with that arrangement exactly the way I wanted it, exactly the way I do it normally. So yeah, that was incredibly exciting. So I do get a lot of say. I think I am probably a person who likes to speak up a bit as well in terms of that, because I'm used to doing, being in charge of my own arrangements. I'm used to doing concerts. I'm used to putting things together myself. So they're very much there if you need the help. So some people aren't so much into that. Some people need a lot more help with song choices, and that's fine. I think we're all very different. We all come from different parts of music, but for me, I just love the fact that they give me so much free reign, and I do get to pick songs. But having said that, the battle, I don't get to pick the song. So they'll tell me on the day, and then they'll tell me who I'm up against. So that's the scary part, because that could literally be anything, and I have no say of what I'm singing. So that terrifies me, if I'm honest, because it could be any style. It could be, he's got rappers, he's got soul singers, he's got singer-songwriters, he's got pop singers, you know, so it literally could be anything. And I just really hope that it all comes together, you know, vocally, and finding a key that works. And yeah, it's just a lot to think about, but yeah.
How much rehearsal time do you get then?
We do get some rehearsal. You know, once we've been paired up, we can practice a little bit. We do have vocal coaches working on the show as well, in addition to our coach. So you know, Will's very much there for the kind of creative side of it, and we've got a whole team of vocal coaches that work with us individually as well, to help us kind of map through the song. But yeah, a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, and then the music team need to find something that works, and and we come up with something, and yeah, it's just an enormous amount of work, but we do get time to practice, and prep ourselves. But I, as much rehearsal as you have, you still feel so nervous once you're on stage and, you're doing it. So yeah.
It's amazing that the voice is still able to go ahead, because I know that so many things for you and I have been cancelled because of COVID. So how are they managing COVID within the production?
I have to say, I'm completely blown away with how careful they are with everything, and they've handled things so well. There have been absolutely no cases on the show. They sanitize absolutely everything. They keep us all separate at all times. We all wear masks all the time. The only time we take them off is to sing on stage. And even then, they sanitize our mics. Everything we touch comes in a plastic bag. Everything is, just organized and in such a kind of meticulous way. So I feel super safe working on the show. And I have to say, they obviously really want to get this out and entertain people, which is so important during this time. People are sat at home and they need stuff to watch. They need things to uplift them. And I think this is really important that they keep on going. And obviously with a virtual audience, it works. It would be nicer for us to have a real audience, obviously, but I think it's wonderful how everyone's had to adapt to everything during this time. And it'll be cool kind of memory to look back and see how different this version of the voice was, because next year they might have a full audience again, hopefully. So yeah, it's incredible how they've dealt with it, and yeah, we feel incredibly safe on here. They've done a good job.
That's really amazing. And like you say, it's great that they're still able to carry on and bring music and entertainment to people at a time when going and experiencing live music is just not possible. So it's wonderful that they're carrying it on. But I know that I will be saying this for so many people when I wish you the absolute best on the show. I cannot wait to see you in the battles, and I cannot wait to see you just sing so beautifully. We will all be rooting for you. So all the best with it, and thank you so much for coming back and sharing this amazing story with us.
Thank you. And it's so important, to get the support from the classical crossover community, and people who like your kind of music. So
yeah, well, I hope you'll feel us all behind you when you're on the stage in the battles and in the next rounds as they come. Thank you so much for joining me again to update us all on the Mary-Jess Meets podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mary-Jess.
Well, you've got all my votes already, and I can't wait to see how you get on. And thank you so much again for coming and updating us. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll look forward to hopefully crowning you the winner of The Voice very soon.
Goodness, yeah, that would be something.
Yeah, well, we're all behind you, so all the best with it. It must be so nerve-wracking, but as you say, the stars have aligned, and this is just looking like a dream come true. So I'm so happy for you, and thank you so much again.
Thank you.